A suicide note from Jeffrey Epstein, at least one that a cellmate of his in 2019 said was found in a book in the cell, and that cellmate says that Jeffrey Epstein wrote it. Now, this note, it's very hard to read, and it hasn't been authenticated by the Justice Department. They stand behind transparency, but they say, not sure if this is real at this time. However, this cellmate who found it, he says his lawyers have looked at it and the handwriting is correct. What the note says, it says, they investigated me for months, found nothing, so 15-year-old charges resurrected. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What do you want me to do? Burst out crying. No fun, not worth it, with exclamation points. So this is apparently the suicide note of Jeffrey Epstein when he tried and did not succeed in killing himself in 2019, weeks before he actually died. Also coming at a time where the Justice Department has released millions of files. Just add this to the pile, but it's coming out because the New York Times went to court for it and asked for it to be released because it was in the hands of his cellmate and not the Justice Department itself.
A suicide note allegedly written by Jeffrey Epstein has been released after being sealed for years as part of a criminal case of his cellmate. You can see in the note he writes, they've investigated me for months, found nothing, and it's a treat to choose one's time to say goodbye. The New York Times reports the cellmate discovered the note in 2019 after a failed suicide attempt by Epstein. Epstein died weeks later at the Lower Manhattan Correctional Center. The Times says they have yet to authenticate the letter.
Breaking news, a purported suicide note written by Jeffrey Epstein just released. So here's what we have. You're seeing it on the screen. This note had been kept sealed for years. It was just released by a federal judge in a different case. And what the note says in part, as you see it there, is it is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. Now, the New York Times reports that Epstein's cellmate says that he discovered this letter after Epstein was found unresponsive with a strip of cloth wrapped around his neck. Now, that was not the incident in which Epstein died. It was an incident that Epstein survived weeks before he was eventually found dead in his cell. A death that was ultimately ruled suicide, but has been the focus of endless conspiracy theories. John Miller is out front. And John, what else do we know about this note, which is very eerie to see it in his hand? And why are we finding out about it now? It doesn't seem that it was part of the Epstein files.
Okay, so to sort this out for people who aren't students of the case, because a lot of this happened a long time ago, he was in the Metropolitan Detention Center, Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan, which is now closed. And he was paired with a cellmate named Nick Tartaglione, who was a former New York City police officer who was serving time in a corruption case. And he says he found Epstein in the cell with a strip of cloth tied around his neck, and that he found this note inside a novel. Now, why isn't this in the Epstein files? We don't know, but it is in the criminal discovery evidence that was part of Tartaglione's trial, and it was discovered by lawyers in there. And then there was the petition to the judge to release it. Of course, the note says, they investigated me for months, found nothing. It's a treat to be able to choose time to say goodbye. What you want me to do, bust out crying. So it doesn't particularly say it's a suicide note, but it has that tone.
Absolutely does. And as I say, it's fascinating that it was not part of the files. And also, as we point out, it was an attempt of suicide that was about a month before when he was actually found dead.